Karen Bryant for MMA Heat. I'm here with Tony Ferguson, who will be fighting at UFC 184. He's taking on Gleison Tibau. And that was not your original opponent. Originally, it was supposed to be Yancy Medeiros, but we came down here to 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. We were here last week. It was your birthday. What'd you end up doing for your birthday to celebrate?
I just kicked back. I trained about 3 or 4 times that day. And then on the weekend, we ended up celebrating, got some cake, made some barbecue, had a bunch of my coaches over, watched some film, listened to some good music, but just stayed attention to what's at hand, which is this fight.
Well, very nice. Well, I was just watching you go through some drills, and I was talking with Eddie a little bit about you, and I said, well, man, Tony looks amazing. And he just has commented on how good you've gotten, you know, and how he's watched you grow over the years. But we're both talking about your fluidity. I mean, do you feel that when you're fighting that you are one of the more fluid guys?
I like to think so. I like to think I'm one of the more fluid guys out there. Just from my wrestling experience and my mat time alone, thousands and millions of minutes on the mat, drilling and just practicing, even live. So when I'm out there, I pull the trigger just like I do in the practice room. And like you and Eddie both said, you know, it shows with experience.
It's really great. Now, I want to kind of curious how you approach this fight. Yancy was somebody that was built a lot more like you. You know, he's kind of longer and lankier. And when you get Gleison in front of you, it's a whole different machine. So what do you think strategically is going to be the best way to beat him?
Kicking in the third gear. Yeah. Instead of like, I never coasted, but instead of kicking in the higher gears and preparing for somebody that's a little bit more rangy, more lengthy, this guy's going to be trying to go after my feet. I'm counting on my stand-up to be more powerful than his, and the game is going to be simple. It's David versus Goliath. This guy's huge, and I'm going to go in there, I'm going to smack him around.
And do you think, especially looking at you on paper, I would think, oh, Tony can go deep. You know, sometimes when you see the muscular guys and you feel like they don't have the endurance because of all that oxygen that needs to get to all those muscles. Strategically, is that in the plan at all to try to take it deep, or you want to just get out there and get it done?
I like to put the pressure immediately. Yeah. I don't like to just horse around and then just feel everything out. When that happens, you get injured or you take a couple shots like I did in my Abel Trujillo fight. Not going to happen this fight. We're going to use a lot of head movement, a lot of footwork. We're going to put the pressure. We're going to make sure we frustrate him in there. I'm sure he's a chess player too, but my pieces are a lot more than better than his.
Well, and he's been around for so long. There is a sense that there's, you know, he must have seen it all. But what are you going to throw in there that's new and different that he hasn't seen?
I'm very unorthodox. If you haven't seen in any of my fights, I'm very unpredictable, and I like to scramble, and I like to go for finishes left and right. I'm sure in his jiu-jitsu world he's used to it, but we practice over at 10 Planet Jiu-Jitsu, no pajama game. This is the no-gi thing. On purposely, this is why I do it, because it preaches what we do inside that octagon. I'm going to be ready for him, punches, elbows, knees, and kicks. He's not going to have an answer for anything that I'm going to throw at him. I believe that my confidence is a lot better in this fight. My conditioning is good. I'm eating in and out all the way to it. I'm sending him and Mike Dolce pictures of it.
Are you serious?
Sorry, but yes.
I'm a little jealous of that. What do you get? You get the double animal style? What do you do?
I'll go double. If we're not preparing for anything, I go root beer flow, double. Actually, probably 2 doubles, animal style fries. But now it's protein style, no French fries. They ask me, hey, do you want French fries? I'm like, no French fries. And they ask me twice. I'm like, no. And it's even hard to stay away from the soda. Like me, I like soda, like that carbonation flavor. A squirt after practice is bomb. So it's been one of those things that little things like giving them like sweets and just eating more vegetables and fruits and staying more focused in this fight. This is what's going to get me in title contention in as far as the ranking system. I've earned every single step that I've been in this way, and I'm not going backwards. I'm going forward.
Now, the last time I saw you, you know, other than here, it was in August, and you had just won your fight, and it was great. You came up on the post-fight show with us right after, which I gotta say, I love. That's one of the best parts of my job. I love when I get to see you guys just right after a victory, and you're all fired up. But you know, I don't know if that was your favorite win or anything like that, but is there one so far that you point to and you say, okay, everything was working in that fight, even though you've won more fights than you've lost. You only lost one in the UFC so far. But is there any fight that so far you've seen you pointed to, you know, everything was working right on that and you're trying to recreate?
Every fight is adding up. Yeah. My jiu-jitsu game is getting better. I just recently inherited the brown belt through the jiu-jitsu system in 10 Planet, and I take great honor in that. And so if I'm not putting in my reps and I'm not putting in my drills, you're going to see the exact same thing every fight. And you might see me go inverted, and you might see me do some rubber guard. I tried rubber guard on Danny Castillo, and it didn't work so well. You saw me do it on Abel Trujillo, and I ended up almost pulling off a submission. So probably the next fight, you're going to probably see the submission come out. Right. And it's just storytelling books from there. Nice.
Now, like I said, you only dropped one fight so far. That was to Michael Johnson. Is there any sense of you that likes to entertain the idea of rematches or anything? Does it bother you that much, or are you just able to put that out of your mind and be like onward and upward and just give me the next guy?
I think he's thinking about me more than I am thinking about him. I know he's got a bunch of stuff on his mind, but it was the exact break I needed. Literally, I broke my arm, and it made me forced to think of what I really needed to do. I've been competing in sports for over 20-some years, and sometimes a break like that, just to get focused and reiterate everything that you want to do and put everything, not all your ducks in one row and not all your eggs in one basket, but that's exactly what I did. I moved from Ventura, signed with a new management company, and I put my shit together. I got my act together, and look at me now. I'm 7-1, going for 8-1, and out of my 10 fights for the Ultimate Fighter contract, I hope I'm the first one to get to 9-1.
That'd be amazing. Well, speaking of the Ultimate Fighter, that was a few years back. Some people are really able to use it as a launching pad, and for other people, when you look at the cast list, they're like, where are they now? You know what I mean? So out of your season was you, Miles Jury. I'm trying to think of a couple. There was a couple Ramsey Nijem was in there. That's who you fought, right? How do you feel about that experience? Do you think that was the right introduction to the UFC, or do you think it would have been, better for you or worse if you had just kind of fought your way on a smaller circuit and all of a sudden got signed?
No, it was a perfect scenario. The guy that they were probably going to take when I took a fight just short notice, and it was for a big belt, like a state nation type of belt, it was the hardwood that I needed to get me into the Ultimate Fighter. I'd never watched the show. I didn't know what was going on. I talked to my coach. I was like, hey, I'm going to try out for the show. He's like, you know what the show is, right? And I was like, no, I just know it's what I have to do to get in the UFC. Because I was trying to take these fights, and sure enough, I went in there. He's like, you're going to be fine, Tony. Just do your own thing. And exactly what I did. I stuck with my routine. I listened to the coaches, and it was the perfect way for myself to get everything in order, because I've had trainers and I've had coaches, but then I had to figure out a way to mesh everything together. And with the help of Coach Marty Morgan, Brock Lesnar, Eric Paulson, Rodrigo Comprito, and Greg Nelson, and Matt Hughes even showed up in there. I took everything, and regardless if it was a TV show or a reality show, I made it my business, and it was my career choice that I made.
So was there other things that you could do? I know if you look back in your information, it says that you were a bartender at one point, which I can totally get. You're very social. But at what point did you decide, I should probably commit, go all in, or it's just a hobby?
When I weighed about 205 pounds.
See, I can't believe that.
I was about 205 pounds. I was smoking cigars, wasting money on stupid shit, stupid stuff.
Right.
And it was just a move that I needed to make. Like I said, it was one of those breaks that I needed to figure out. I moved to California from Michigan, and long story short, this guy gave me this card that said jiu-jitsu. I showed up and I wrestled, and I out-wrestled everybody that was there. And a guy gave me a pair of gloves. And it was the only opportunity I ever asked for. Anytime anybody gave me an opportunity, I used it. I never let it go to waste. And it was like the golden opportunity for me to accept that my reality is I am an athlete, I am a professional, and this is where I belong. And I took it seriously. And from 2008 till now, I mean, look, I'm 18-3, 7-1 in the UFC. I had one amateur fight, turned pro overnight, and now I'm here.
What was it like the first time you took a punch? So I know a lot of time wrestlers, it's a big adjustment all of a sudden, either throw one or to take one.
It was exactly like wrestling. If you're used to snap downs and stuff, I used to wrestle with these guys that would tape their hands up hard like a club, and they were going boom, hit the back of your head, and you would just see these lights. And I played football too, and I was a cornerback, so I was always smacking people. So I just got used to being able to take impact. And so with as far as boxing and stuff, I got used to taking the impact, but I kind of like not taking any impact. I like to take the Pernell Whitaker, Mike Tyson route, get the bob and moving, and then boom, do the knockouts. That's my kind of style.
So you were definitely naturally just always an athlete.
Yes, I was just always been an athlete. I played football, baseball, wrestling, and it was always what's next. And if the sport, once one ended, the other one already started like 1 or 2 weeks out. And so.
No, well, I look at you because I played baseball too. I look at you and I think that, especially with the Mexican-American heritage, a lot of guys playing baseball, and you're built so tall and rangy. I was like, how did he not get stuck on the baseball field? How did they get you? How did you not get recruited specifically for that one?
That's the wife says. She's like, how come you didn't pick a sport like baseball? You got paid more,
Less punches to the face,
I had a great glove. I had great hand-eye coordination. I could put the ball where I needed to go. I wasn't a really big home run hitter. I just always liked the game, stealing bases and just making sure I could put the ball where it needed to be and thinking 2 to 3 steps ahead of the play, and it just applied. And baseball was just one of those things that was just so fun, but it kind of burned me out. And it was like with football, you could only play football for a certain length of time. And wrestling, I wrestled in college, and so after wrestling, we were like, hey, am I gonna go in the WWE? I'd be the sexy Latino Heat right here, the Mexican Mangler. whatever you want to call it.
It's a good one.
But I didn't really see myself going that route.
Yeah.
So I had to figure out another way to explore my athletic abilities, and mixed martial arts allows me to do that.
It's very nice. And I wonder, too, there was that big showdown in Mexico City. Do you feel that, I used to work for Showtime Championship Boxing. I worked for 3.5 years, did the first 3 Vasquez-Marquez fights. I covered a lot of fights, obviously, with Latino fighters, and it was such a great thing. The sensibility that they have for the scrap, it's such a, I don't know, it's different. It's just
It's in the blood.
Well, that's what I'm wondering about. Not to generalize, but do you feel that? I mean, is that, you do feel that?
I do feel it. It's in the blood. It comes from just generations and generations. It's just there. I mean, for me, being little, I always wanted to be boxer. I have like Fernando Vargas, Oscar De La Hoya, and you had like Trinidad, and you had a lot of these different boxers that were there, and I was just like, man, I want to be that guy. They just had like a different aura about them, just a personality that you just like, man, and even the baseball players that were in there, you just had like a different personality. And me being Latino with the last name Ferguson, I took my stepdad's last name, and he was there since I was little, but I never lost track of that. And I've always been a fighter since I was little, and I've always had the support of my family, and that just makes it just a killer combination.
Do you remember the first time anybody, especially maybe a young kid, came up to you and asked for an autograph or anything, or like the first time that you got recognized as a pro fighter?
I do. It was actually Victor Davila, his son. We were over at the Ultimate Fighter finale at the Palms when I fought Eve Edwards, and I've had a couple people come up and ask for autographs, but it was only until like when they came up, and it was just a sincerity and just a different kind of look that I got, and it was just the ultimate reality check. And it was just one of those like, this is real and this is what it is, and you gotta act right and you have to do the right things because you have eyes all over the place watching you. And I want to leave a good mark in this, and so that's where I see it, and that's how it comes from, and I'm very lucky to have that.
Well, I think it already shows through, and just watching you teach these guys. I know Kane Carrizosa is here with you, and YL, and a couple of the young guys that it seems like you've really mentored here already. How important is that for you to be a teacher?
It just comes in hand because I've had really good teachers back in the day. I've had really good instructors and really good coaches, and for me, I'm not their coach. I'm a training partner, and I always use the hashtag be a good training partner. But that's me. If we're a team and I see like a little hole in the game, they're going to correct me likewise. And so if my wrestling is going to, I have a lot of years of experience in wrestling, and if I can shed a little tiny bit of light on just a little fact, and if they might just change their game a little bit, and they're thankful regardless if they use it or not, I don't care. It helps me because it reiterates in my head, focusing on what I need to drill, and then while I'm teaching it, I reiterate it again, and then when I see it, it's like 3 times again. It's like a bang, 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 triple stab, and I already reviewed it. And so it helps me just as much as it does to them.
And do you still put in a lot of your wrestling time down at Reign as well with Mark Munoz? Yeah?
Yes, I do. I put in a lot of wrestling time over at Reign. I'm all over the place though. And with Reign in Orange County, I like to represent Orange County fully. So you'll see me at the weigh-ins with an orange all the time. That's my new thing now.
Is it?
Yep.
Nice. Well, that's good. I mean, you get the full support of them, and you're not the usual Orange County resident. The perception of what Orange County people, it's Real Housewives of Orange County. You're keeping it really real.
Yeah, I like to keep it real, and it was funny. The last time I brought up an orange, just somebody put a little Reebok sticker on there, and they were like, Dana's already starting with it. But it's just me. It's very comfortable. My wife's family's out from that area, and I get to focus on what is important at hand, which is my family and my mixed martial arts. I don't have any babies yet, and soon enough I will, but I'm setting that standard right now so they don't have to suffer in the future.
Nice. And you bring up a few good points with Dana and the UFC, Reebok, stuff like that. Yesterday there was the big discussion about PEDs and their policies, how they wanted to make some changes. What do you feel about that? Now they're saying starting July 1st there could be 2-year suspensions, 4-year suspensions. Just curious your take on it.
I'm curious my take. I really don't have too much of an opinion on it. I'm all natural. As far as people that think that they need to take PEDs to have an edge over them, that's just a mental weakness that they have as far as them. If it has to do with their bone growth or whatever else, that's their own personal thing as far as them. But when you're competing, you have to stay straight and you have to keep it light and you have to keep it right. As far as the penalties go, harsher penalties or regular penalties, a penalty's a penalty. It's people are still going to use and people are still not going to use. It's just going to be their personal preference. So if they want to threaten with more harsher years, I think people are still going to do what the hell they're going to do because people are stubborn anyway. For me, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, which is be the all-natural approach, and I'm going to count on these guys if they're bigger than me. I'm not going to say they're taking anything. Why? Because, they just might just be genetically better, or that way is physically just more, more defined. For me, I really, like I said, I don't really have an opinion on it. You know, with Anderson Silva, unfortunately, what just happened, you know, I hate to see that, but it is a part of the game, and you have to come out clean. And I'm glad that we do test, and it is a part of the sport. And we are a profession. We need to set standards for these younger generations. And what kind of role models are we if we keep popping out like that?
Yeah, baseball went through some dark days, obviously, with Sosa and Mark McGwire, but I feel like they turned the corner on that and things got better.
I believe so, too. It was the same thing, you know, watching baseball. And you had Mark McGwire, you know, the home run king, and Barry Bonds and all these other guys. And then, you know, they have steroids popping up, and you have all these other different things, HGH, and you have all these different, you know, can I buy a vowel?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like,
totally.
it's funny, but, you know, at the same time, I mean, it's in the sports, and it's always out there. It's going to be there. And people think that they're sneaky, they're going to get away with stuff, but in the reality, in the end, your performance is going to show out there, and the more conditioned and the better athlete is going to always win.
So your performances so far really lining up. Like you said, you're really making a charge for the title shot. If you're able to get past Gleason, is there somebody that you're really eyeing, somebody that you think, you know, not even just strategically would help you, but somebody that you either just really want to put the hurt on or think stylistically you would put a great fight on with?
You know, a lot of people like to point up the top 5 and they want to say top 3. I like to start at the bottom. Give me top 10, and I'm going to pick them all off one by one, and I'm going to be that scary boogeyman dude. Not even the boogeyman. The El Cucuy is scarier than the boogeyman. I hunt beasts. So the top 10 guys that are in the Shark division for the lightweight, you guys watch out, because I'm coming for you. Watch it.
It is a ridiculous division.
It is ridiculous, but these guys that are holding the top spots have been there for a while. And they're not making their way out, but they're kind of in there, and their pathways are a little bit different than mine. And they're making their way up, and I'm making my way up. So when they're about to fall is when I'm going to catch them, and I'm going to pick them off one by one. So when I get that title and I defend my belt, I'm going to retire happy and be like, thanks, guys.
You think Pettis is going to keep it, or RDA has a shot?
I don't even care. I don't even care.
It's just one more dude that you're going to have to push out of the way.
I don't even care right now. He's not in the way right now. I have Gleason T-Ball in the way. And what sounds better than 7-1? 8-1.
All right, well, Tony, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you for letting us come down and hang out with you.
Thank you.
Great to see you evolve over the years. It's really been fun.
Solid. Thank you. Follow me, guys, on Tony Ferguson XT on Twitter and on Instagram. Hey, this is Tony El Cucuy Ferguson, and you are watching MMA Heat.